Okay, right. Okay, welcome everyone to the Finance Performance Committee meeting for February 2022. Welcome to those online Zooming, and welcome to all councillors and staff also Zooming in online. We'll start off with the reading of the council prayer, and I will read that. I'll call for everyone in the chambers to stand, please. Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions, and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen. Right. Now, we'll call for apologies, and I've received an apology from Councillor Angus Gordon. I haven't heard from anyone else. We've pretty well have got everyone else there, except for Councillor Hiroa. So, yeah, I haven't heard from Councillor Hiroa, so hopefully she will be attending online shortly. So could I have someone move that the apologies be accepted?
Happy to move.
Okay, Councillor Carter, seconded by His Worship the Mayor. All those in favour? Aye, carried. Thank you. We have no public forum for today, so we'll move on to item 4 on the agenda, which is the declarations of conflict of interest. And I'll now ask any of the committee members, do they have any declaration of conflict of interest that you'd like to make now? Otherwise, if not, just be mindful when we're discussing anything on the agenda, if you feel you have a conflict of interest, please raise it at that time. And just also a reminder to councillors who are zooming in online, please make sure that your video stays streaming so that we know that you're attending in the meeting. If your video stops, you will be listed as not being in attendance at that time. Okay, moving on to confirmation of order of business. Now, there is one item that we are required to change, and that is the item 10, the public excluded. Now, the public excluded item was to deal with insurance costs approval. That needs to be heard by full council, and this committee does not have the delegation to make those recommendations. So it's under this committee to make the recommendation that item gets moved to full council this afternoon and will be decided at full council. So we do need a recommendation to shift that from our agenda.
I'm happy to move so, and I will need a reason at full council for it to be considered under urgency for it to be part of.
Yes, yeah.
But it would certainly move.
There'll be the reasoning for it is that the payment has to be made urgently. It is due now, so but that reason will be given at full council to be accepted there. So.
Thank you.
So the recommendation for this meeting would read that the Finance Performance Committee recommend that the item insurance costs approval be considered at the council meeting being held on the 24th of February 2022. That's been moved by His Worship the Mayor, seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much for that. And we'll take the rest of the order of business as listed. Right, moving on to confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. And we'll run through the minutes as listed in the order paper. I'll go through each page. If there are any amendments, please raise your hand and we'll deal with them at that time. So we start off on page 6, page 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Councillor Dalgety, you have your hand raised.
Sorry, on page 11, point 10.2.
Yes.
I just clarification there. It should read QV valuations need to be raised during. Sorry, objections on the QV valuations need to be raised during the objection period. And then it would be better explained if you add following the release of new valuations.
Okay. If that clarifies it, now staff, are you happy to, oh, okay, Your Worship, comment?
Absolutely agree with the accuracy of the report and the comments made. Just note that we have effectively had one revaluation out of that period through QV. That revaluation will need to be formally adopted into our rating database and also be passed on to Horizons Reaction as well. So it is normal, it is unusual for that to happen, but I understand that that has happened with regard to one property within our district at Taihape.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for that explanation. So, Councillor Dalgety, your recollection of the meeting would be that the wording you put should be amended into this set of minutes?
Yes, that was the intention of what I said.
Okay, so staff got the wording correct? Okay. Right, okay, so yes, that's been captured, so, and it will read changing valuation period to reading objection period and adding following the release of QV valuations. You happy with that change?
Of the new QV valuations.
Of the new QV valuations, right. Okay, that's been
Thank
captured.
you.
Thank you. Were there any further amendments? No, if not, Councillor Dalgety, would you be happy to move those amended minutes as a true and accurate record?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 7 on the agenda, which is the follow-up action items from previous meetings. And they start on page 13, or the report starts on page 13. And is anyone taking us through this?
I'm happy to take you through just a couple of points,
That's
Mr. Chair. You'll note that each item now has a number beside it, so it'll make it easier to refer to. There's a number of actions there for staff, and as always, we're happy to take any questions. Just a couple I would comment on. Number 1, I sent that email to everyone after the meeting. And number 9, the statement of service performance. Once Council and the Finance Committee have looked at these today, they will go on. They're already as part of the agenda on the website, but we'll put them more prominent as well.
Great.
So I'm sure the others are happy to take any other questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll take questions of the follow-up actions. Committee members, do you have any questions? Worship?
Just one from me. In terms of the decision today, item number 6, you may want to adjust that to say that the summary provided will be presented to Finance Performance and Council.
Right.
So whether that's just a note so that you know where it's now gone to.
Are you happy with that to be altered? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'd just like to comment that, yeah, there are a number of follow-up action items that have been closed, so thank you for the work going on behind the scenes to deal with those. So, yeah, that's my comment. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I've just had a message from Councillor Hero. She's in a COVID debriefing workshop, so she's not sure time she'll get out, so if we can put her apologies in.
We can list her as apologies for lateness then for the meeting. Thank you. Okay, no further questions on the follow-up action items. No, so we'll move on to Chair's report. And you should have all received that emailed out to you. It's really just the report covers off the amount of work going on behind the scenes to deal with a lot of stuff within council at present. So on behalf of this committee, I'd like to thank staff for the efforts going in. Yeah, there's certainly a huge amount of work going on. So on behalf of this committee, thank you very much, and please pass on to all staff that are involved. Also around the forestry report, thank you, Dave, for providing that. That's exactly the information that I think was required. We're dealing with that within the minutes. I won't sort of cover off within the agenda, I should say, so I won't cover off too much more on that. But yeah, just mainly a thank you for the work that's going on behind the scenes and in challenging times that we're in at the moment with the operation. So yeah. All right, I'll take questions of my report if there are any. If there are none, I'm happy to move that my report be received, my tabled report be received. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Dalgety. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to item...
Sorry, Councillor, excuse me, we didn't move the follow-up actions.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for that, Ash. We need to remove the reception of those follow-up action items, so could I have a mover for those items, please? Councillor Ash moving, seconded by Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ash. Okay, moving on to item 9 and starting with 9.1, the financial snapshot. And that is starting on page 16 of the order paper. And I will hand over to Mr. Toombs to take us through this.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll just make 3 points, if I may. First one, as you'll notice, this report this month includes a mid-year budget review. It's the first time we presented one of these in my time here, and I don't know if we've done one previously, so I'm not sure how familiar all councillors will be with this type of exercise. I just want to point out that, say, for example, on page 16, items 2.1.1, where officers come up with a figure in the mid-year budget review, say 31.4 million for a capital spend for the year, that's subject to an awful lot of future unknown variables, and we're not guaranteeing or predicting that's where we're going to end up. That's based on what we know today. So I'd be incredibly surprised if the final figure was 31.4 million. But so I just want to emphasise that we're not saying this is where we are guaranteeing we're going to be at 30th of June. So it's just based on what we know, based on our best guess today. And on that basis, what I'd probably suggest we do is in April, based on the March figures, I'll update these mid-year budget reviews to be a 9-month review, just so we can get a bit closer to the figures. So the mid-year budget reviews really are just our best indications based on what we know today. That's the first point I'd like to make. Second point is the actual year-to-date figures included in all the following pages as per our normal monthly reporting. There's not a lot of significant change there from the trends shown in previous months. And the final point I'd make is on page 28, there's a budget figure there that we, council, will be hopefully voting to remove later on this afternoon. I can just find it. The bottom budget figure on page 28 under libraries, that's the budget figure that, if you remember, previous months we identified was a double up, so that'll be coming out this afternoon. Apart from that, just happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We'll start off and we'll take questions of the report first. Your worship,
I'll start with a couple. The first one is thank you very much for your comment around 2.11 and 2.12. So thank you for that information. Obviously, as we run into an annual plan, there's going to be a fair amount of discussion around where this is absolutely going to sit. So thank you for that. And 4.1.2 security guards at council, I think probably this is a question more towards Peter. Are you able to comment as to where you see this on an ongoing basis? Or?
Not yet. No, I've asked the team to review the need for it, so we'd know before the termination of the existing contract or the end of the existing contract, and we haven't had that review yet.
So the existing contract ends when 3 months.
It was 3 months, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm pleased that is under review or discussion. I'll let somebody else have a turn.
Okay. All right. Further questions of the report for councillors online? Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. So can you just remind me in that case, through you, Mr. Chair, Dave, can you just remind me then the importance or the reasoning behind giving us these half yearly and then 9-month reports? I mean, going into the annual plan, given what our mayor's just said, of course, we need to know as much as we can, but given that you've just said there's going to be huge variances and the figures are only indicative, can you just remind me why it's necessary then to bring them to us?
Yeah, thank you for that. I didn't say there would be huge differences. I said it wouldn't be unforeseen if there were differences, and I don't think I used the word huge. But basically, if there's say a COVID outbreak, for example, and everything gets locked down, there'll be no activity, then these figures will be, then there will be differences then, yes, yeah. So who knows, there could be a weather event. There's a whole bunch of reasons as to why the planned activity for March, April, May, June will be delayed, or could be delayed, in which case these figures are to some extent redundant. They're based on what we know today. And the importance of mid-year budget reviews is, if you just look at year-to-date reporting, there's a whole bunch of future activity that you're not considering when you look at the year-to-date performance. So historic reporting's got its place, but it's more important to be looking at full year, where you think you're going to be at 30th of June as opposed to where you are at 28th of 31st of January.
Does that answer your question, councillor?
Yes, that's excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think also, sorry, I'll come back to you, Your Worship, but it really gives a clearer picture going in towards the end of a financial year, especially around carryovers, where budget holders will know whether they're going to achieve the finalisation of some of these projects or spend before the end of the financial year. So I think it gives council a heads up in regards with when we're leading into the end of financial year, rather than leaving it and getting past that point and then having to trawl through the figures and make carryover decisions after the fact. So yeah, and that's the reasoning for it. So very worthwhile. Your Worship.
Yeah, just in terms of the effect of it, sort of to answer your question as to why, Mr. Toombs, would it be fair to say that the carryover position alters, first of all, our loan position, financial, effectively our balance sheet? It alters the depreciation schedule, which is probably one of the biggest single effects. And bearing in mind that we rate a year after capital work is done, it would change our rating position and could change it reasonably substantially. Would that be a fair comment?
Basically, yeah.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Carter.
I'm aware that Dave sets these things out for us so that to test us whether we've read them or not, but line 5.11, YTB, should that be a D?
Well, I didn't come through too clear for me. What
Okay, so page 17 of the order paper, 5.11 is under asset services. I think it's a typo. Year-to-date actual, and it's YTB, should say YTD.
Yeah, we put that in there to make sure people are reading the report.
Yeah, there you go. You picked up on that, Councillor Carter. Well done.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Further questions? I have just one question on page 16 in item 3 under revenue. 3.1.2, the 200k of unbudgeted revenue received from sale of land. Which piece of land was that?
Walton Street.
Walton Street, right. Okay, thank you. And one other question, which I think you have answered, and on page 28, around that figure of the Martin admin and library. And I had there, did we not agree to remove that?
That's this afternoon's council.
So that's in this afternoon's council to make that right. Yeah, answer that. So thank you. They were the only two things I had. Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just for clarification, because I don't think I've got this right in my mind. Page 27, under the explanations of grants and subsidies.
Yes.
So we are supposed to be receiving 4.8 million, and we've got 2.4 been budgeted to be received in 21-22, and then 2.1 is recorded as 21-22 revenue. Just the other 0.3, I just wasn't sure what happens to that.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the question. So basically, from a cash perspective, we were budgeted to receive 2.4 last financial year, 2.4 this financial year. And from a cash perspective, that is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we did receive 2.4 last financial year, and we should receive 2.4 this financial year. And from an accounting perspective, though, we had to put 0.3 as revenue last year. So all went in the bank, but 0.3 last year went into income, and 2.1 sat on the balance sheet as income received in advance. And it's one of these complicated accounting things. So that 2.1 then gets shown as revenue this year, as will the 2.4 we should receive this year.
Okay, yeah.
Between accrual accounting and cash accounting, it'd be a lot simpler if it was all cash accounting, but we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Thank you.
Right. Any further questions? Councillor Duncan. You're on mute. You're away now.
Great, thank you. Just on page 23, I have seen that we've got a couple of grants come through. On page 23, it says there's subsidies and grants, and unbudgeted 500k community recovery grant was received, and that's going to be offset by unbudgeted expenditure. I just don't understand how that works. I believe that the grants such as the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, which we're heavily involved with, and Andy's been doing such a great job of, I thought these grants were actually quite specific in their in what they could be used for. So I just wondered what that unbudgeted expenditure was.
Okay. I'll look to press. Okay, His Worship the Mayor would like to provide comment and an answer.
So the way this money was set up was effectively a trial, and depending on the outcomes of the trial, government then decided to put extra funds in. So at the time that the budgets were set, they weren't put in place as part of our annual plan. So you're right, the money coming in was unbudgeted, and therefore the balance of that, the other side of the coin, was the unbudgeted costs associated, which must be tagged back to the government's directive. You thank me, but I think the thanks are really due to the team that have been put in place to manage this. They've done an exceptional job. We are leading the country in terms of the outcomes for this amazing result from James Towers, Nadia, who is here, and the team.
Thank you, Worship. Does that answer your question, Councillor Duncan?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I just wondered if, not to be pedantic, but I wonder if these funds, the sentence, these funds will be offset by unbudgeted expenditure. Somehow, could that be reflect that it's to do with that Mayor's Task Force for Jobs? or is it not necessary?
I'm not sure that it's necessary, but you could tag it back to say that those unbudgeted expenses will be relating to the contracts under the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs.
So would you like that wording attached under the commentary? Is that what you're saying, Councillor Duncan?
Well, it would lend clarity to the fact that it is to do with that whole community recovery grant from MSD. Yes, it just looks like we've got unbudgeted, general sort of unbudgeted expenditure floating around, and let's just use that money.
Okay. Are you happy to put the wording in that commentary, Mr. Toombs, just to...
Can we just put the word related?
Yeah, related to.
These funds will be offset by related unbudgeted expenditure.
Yep, too easy.
Thank you. Okay. Further questions? All right. If there are no further questions, could I have someone move that the financial snapshot report be received? Moved by Councillor Dalgetty, seconded by Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And moving on to 9.1, the Treasury and Debt Report. Mr. Toombs, I presume you're... are you providing comment? Oh, no. Sorry, we have Danny online. Sorry, Danny, you've popped up on screen there now. Welcome, Danny.
No problem. Thank you. There's not really too much to say about this report. We've taken out an additional 5 million at the start of February, so that doesn't come into this report. And the high receivable amount is due to the rates being struck in January and all invoice that's in the system in January, but they're not due till February. So around 4.5 million would be for the rates that are receivable in February. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you.
I might just add, sorry, yeah, if I may, I might just add that this report's good to read in conjunction with item 9.4, which shows how our debt is situated compared to every other council's debt. So I'll come to that, or we'll come to that when we come to 9.4. But okay. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you. Yeah, it's certainly a sign of the increase in debt level is obviously a sign that some of these predicted spends are starting to hit the ground. So yeah. Your Worship, you just comment or question?
Just a question from me, Danny, under debt 3 million to 8 million. Is that a loan position or a balance sheet position? In other words, is that $8 million debt offset by money that we have for immediate needs, etc.? So is it in effect a net debt, or is it a loan debt?
Yes, there's essentially loan, so it's in the bank at the moment, available for use.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from committee members on the Treasury and Debt Position report? Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The indication that the council debt has now increased to 8 million in February 2022, does that line up with our previous forecast with regards to spending in our capital plans and other such things, without me going looking as to where the position is we're predicted to be sitting at this point in time? Do those two numbers correlate?
I think they relate to what's been presented in the monthly snapshots. Obviously, we're behind in the capital spend for where we should be, potentially. But from what's been reported, we're sitting okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so basically, as the projects are being delivered and we're getting through our capital works program, we will be calling on debt to cover those projects and those bills that come associated with it. Mr. Toombs, you had further comment?
Yeah, just on this point, without wishing to labour it too much, if you go back to page 28 of the agenda, you can see at the end of January, our year-to-date cap spend was 7 million against the budget of 24. So our budget debt would have been based on us having spent 24 million by the end of Jan. And then earlier on, we saw the mid-year budget review said that our forecast spend at the end of June will be 31 million. So the debt has all been shuffled down through the financial year towards the end of the financial year, as opposed to being evenly spread through it.
So if you were sticking strictly to the budget figures, we would have been further in debt by this stage if that program had been achieved. That answers your question, Councillor Wilson? Okay. Any further questions? Oh, could I have someone move that the Treasury and Debt report be received? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Seconded by Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 9.3 on the agenda, the QV monthly report. And Danny, are you happy to take us through, provide any comment on this report?
Yep. So again, this is just a QV report that comes to you monthly, just to highlight what's happening in the district, really. Most of the trends are following fairly consistent to last year. There's no real spikes or troughs in the data. There's a few subdivisions to value and building consents, so likely to stay consistent with last year at this point. The building consents, they've got about 100 to value in the report, so we'll overtake last year, but the subdivisions are still a little bit behind, but fairly consistent.
Thank you for that. Yeah, certainly the report is reflecting what's happening in and around the district. There's a lot going on. And as these subdivisions come on board and are valued, they'll show up in this report once they've been signed off and achieved. So, but yeah, anecdotally, when you're driving around, there's a huge amount of work going on. So it's pleasing to see the growth happening. I'll hand over to Mr. Beggs for comment.
I just, in the spirit of conversation, Councillor, I would just add what my head of regulatory has informed our executive team is that the number of consents are slowing down considerably at the moment. It's not for, the only reason for that is that the builders themselves don't have the material to finish their projects. So we are seeing a general move to the right as a commentary into this.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Yeah, and that certainly has been echoed by the building industry that I've heard certainly around our part of the district. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Did I see a hand up there? Someone had a question. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you. And I may have actually answered it myself by reading a little bit more thoroughly. My apologies if this comment comes out a little bit out of left field. Just on the building consents, where is that? It says building consents completed per month cumulative. Where does that data get sourced from? Is that directly, and how up to date is that data? So what I'm getting to is that at the application or obviously at the completion of a CC Code of Compliance certificate? How does that sit behind? Is it accurate to date?
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Danny, I'll pass on to you to provide comment.
Sorry for you, Mr. Chair. Basically, all of those graphs come straight from the QV report. So the building consents that they get obviously inform the valuations that they have in their system, which affect the next rating year. So as soon as it's completed, it all goes through to them. So that should be completely up to date. In the report on page 34, you can see that there's 196 building consents under construction still, which is both new builds and it can be any other consents. And there's 105 still to be processed in their system. So the 18 for this month and the 83 total for the year, there's still 105 to value to go through their system. So it should be completely up to date, but there's a lag in them valuing them.
So this report really covers off what QV have received to value rather than what's actually going on prior to being finalised. So I guess once the CCC has been issued, that's when it gets passed on to QV for them to value. So, right. Does that answer your question, Councillor Wilson? Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, being none, could I have someone move that the QV monthly report be received? Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Seconded by Councillor Dalgetty. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 9.4 on the agenda, the LGFA report, which has been quarterly report, which has been provided. And Mr. Toombs, or Danny, Danny, you're going to take us through this.
Yep, back to me again. So this report, LGFAs, that's the local government funding agency. They're who we get our borrowings through. Each quarter they send through these reports to us, which pretty much outline what they're seeing in the market, and we provide it to you for information purposes. A couple of things to point out is that there's a list of guarantors. In our LTP, we said that we were going to become a guarantor because our level of borrowings will exceed the limit you can be at a non-guarantor. So that will be in the works this year. And one of the other important things to look at, or interesting, is the compliance with covenants. So there's a whole list of every council that's got borrowings with their current covenants. And if you look at the Rangitikis, they're pretty well within their covenants compared to other councils, just due to our low level of borrowings. Happy to take any questions on the rest of it.
Thank you, Danny. Okay, we'll start off with questions of the report, and Councillor Duncan.
Just for clarification, I understand that if you are borrowing less than 20 million, then that's all good. But as you say, we opted to become a guarantor in our last long-term plan. Do we actually become a guarantor before we hit that, now that we've made that agreement, or once we hit the 20 million, does that then just lock in?
I'll ask Mr. Toombs to provide comment.
Yeah, but basically, if we want to borrow from LGFA more than 20 million, we need to become a guaranteeing member. We've got the paperwork from them. So we're starting the process now that we'll probably come back to council in the next 2 or 3 months to get that all signed off. So us becoming a guarantee member is in progress.
Thank you. Answers the question.
Good question.
Further questions? Councillor Dalgetty.
Well, it's an observation, really. I was just interested in the relative wealth of the regional councils versus the district councils on that list.
Is that wealth or borrowings?
Wealth.
Yes, yes. It certainly does make for interesting reading, doesn't it? Yeah. Councillor Toombs. Oh, sorry, Mr. Toombs. I'll get that right. Yeah, well, I'm sorry to give you that slight.
Defamation. Yeah, thank you. Just continuing, page 56, there is some interesting data or info on there. It shows each council's relative comfort within the borrowing covenants. The one that's with low interest rates, the middle two, the net interest per total revenue and net interest per rates. With interest rates being so low, most councils are comfortably sitting within them. The ratio that's capturing most councils out is the one on the far right, liquidity. And you can see there that you've got to be more than 110%, and there's quite a few that are between 110 and 120%. And they're under a lot of financial stress at the moment. their ability to borrow more is obviously hamstrung. You can see we're 328%, so we're quite comfortable there. But that's based on our 3 million debt, not our 8 million debt. All of this is going to change, of course, in 2 years' time when Three Waters kicks in. Everyone's assets are going to be stripped, and a lot of councils' debt's going to be farmed off. So I predict that these ratios will have to change after Three Waters kicks in, and we've got no idea of knowing where that is going to end up. The council, as I'm sure you're all aware, which is under most debt pressure, is Auckland. They've got significant debt pressures. So that was just a general observation, so you're all aware.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, there certainly is some interesting reading in those last lot of charts there at the levels of borrowings, and we're sitting reasonably healthy at the moment, but yeah, predicted obviously to push that out through the LTP period. Are there any further questions of the report? There have been none. Could I have someone move the reception of the LGFA report? Moved by Councillor Wilson and seconded by Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 9.5, the Council's Forestry Holdings report, which starts on page 57 of the order paper. And Mr. Toombs, you're going to take us through this, or provide any commentary if you.
No, I provided this for the committee's interest or review. If there's any technical questions on this, I'll probably have to take them on notice and come back.
Thank you. Mr. Beeks.
I would just add that this was a request of council, was it not, Dave? Or was it a request of this committee?
No, it was of this committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're satisfying that request then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and as I wrote in my chair's report, this really is, I guess, to get an understanding of the level of forestry holdings, so that elected members know where this council sits and the condition and maturity level of those holdings. It's a very low level when you look at the valuation. But I have received a couple of questions by email from Councillor Gordon, and this is his obvious expertise in forestry, but he's got a couple of minor questions really, which he's happy to take offline. But one of them was around the valuation around the thin to waste. So any cost involved in maintaining the forestry holdings throughout the period. He understands there has been a production thin. It doesn't show up in this report because it's actually happened outside of the date of this report. So his presumption is that it will show in the following or the next year's report. So he's happy to leave that sit. But the other question was around the discount rate shown in the report. And I had a conversation with him. The current level is 8%, which is apparently an industry standard. But he questioned whether that's relevant with the interest rates of today being so low, and what sort of impact that has. To my level of knowledge, it went above my head, so I think we'll leave that for Angus to have a discussion, perhaps with yourself, Dave. Perhaps at the next report, he might want to provide some comment to whoever provides the report, just to ask the question and satisfy whatever his queries were, if staff are happy with that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Dalgety.
Councillor Dalgety, you've got a question.
Yes, page 62, item 4, the silviculture history. There's a comment there, and I'm not sure if Councillor Gordon touched on it, but they will require thinning to waste in the coming years. So my query was: is that work in a schedule somewhere to happen?
would look to perhaps Mr. Toombs or whoever, who's in charge of our forestry holdings? Who looks after the actual schedule for maintenance? Is it contracted out? Okay. Perhaps-
I've had zero operational involvement in this. I'm guessing it's.
We don't know.
Okay, so we can't answer that question, Councillor Dalgety, here today, but I think what we'll do is just find out what the process is in regards with the requirements for maintenance, and then come back to this committee with an answer of who looks after that and what the scheduled level of maintenance is for this coming year.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Duncan. Oh, sorry. Before we take the question, are you happy to take? Are you happy? Councillor Wilson. Okay, I'll take Councillor Duncan, then Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. I've just got, I have got a few questions around this, and I'm wondering whether Councillor Gordon's suggestion that there be a workshop isn't a good idea. I know it's a small holding, total area of 9.8 hectares, but I also wonder if it's not an opportunity to optimise this small holding further. So I'd be really interested to be part of a workshop if it was scheduled.
I'm not sure how, from the operational side of things, whether that would be required. There could be some discussion at a future workshop, but I wouldn't like to see a workshop based predominantly around holdings of $69,000 worth of forestry. I think there's some questions outstanding, and I think if we can take some of those questions back, staff will take some of those questions back to the contractor or whoever's in charge of actually doing some maintenance, and then come back and provide this committee with some of those answers. If you have questions, Councillor Duncan, would you be happy to email them through to perhaps yourself, Dave, Mr. Toombs, so he can forward those through to the contractor or whoever is in, has this delegation to look after this? Would you be happy with that rather than, I don't believe a workshop on this is warranted. But yeah, I'm happy that, and Peter, are you happy that questions are forwarded through to Mr. Toombs if you have questions on that? Are you happy with that, Councillor Duncan? I think.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it affords a workshop for this level of investment. Councillor Wilson, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I think you've summed that up extremely well. This is in my opinion, it's a low-level matter. It's extremely operational. I wouldn't see that this committee would really require any further input into discussions of 9 hectares of forestry holdings and the values that they are. So I think your suggestion and your summing up has probably answered my question. I don't believe this committee should be going any further with this subject. We've received a report as requested, and I don't believe it's of a great deal of use of its staff's time to pursue this matter any further. Thank you.
Your Worship.
I have 2 or 3 questions. I've long argued that we should not be in forestry, and we've written out off our balance sheet for years and years and years. The first question is, what was the cost of providing this report?
I'll take it on notice if that's okay.
Because, you know, if there is a significant cost, and I suspect there would be a reasonable cost to providing this report on an asset worth 69K, you'd have to seriously question the value to the organisation. Yes, $69,000 is not a lot of money in spite of things, but when I read the report, the way that I looked at the report was that it is a gross value of those logs according to the state of what could be harvested from them. So it's assessed the tonnage. The way that I read the report, it is assessed the tonnage in terms of whether it's an A-grade log, K-grade log, or whatever. But that's not necessarily the net result. And that the harvesting costs would probably actually mean, if I'm correct, that we'd be operating at a loss. So it's not the value of the asset, but the realised net value of the asset is the issue. Especially as the harvesting is paid out on a percentage of, historically it's been on a percentage of gross, not net. I think that we have a reasonable exposure potentially to a significant operating loss. And I may be misreading the report, but that's my concern.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a number of questions, and I think perhaps we could take them back for Dave, Mr. Toombs, to perhaps provide some answers. I read within the report on page 60 that in that chart it gives the tree crop value, and it also provides an updated harvest cost. So net value is very low. It's about $1,800 net value when basically the valuation of the crop is the cost of harvesting. So take your point that yeah.
We're going to be harvesting and dealing with these blocks at a loss. Absolutely, especially when most of it is of very, very poor quality.
Okay, so Mr. Toombs, are you happy with some of the questions around this, and just perhaps come back to the committee with some answers? And if there are any further questions, Councillor Duncan, you had a number there. If you could just forward those through to Mr. Toombs, and he can provide some answers. But Councillor Dalgety, you had a question.
Just that being the case, why would we be wasting money thinning?
That builds on my question, because the council, in my opinion, may be better off selling. We can't sell some of the land, but we could sell the cutting rights and obligations.
Yep.
Okay. So that's a question that could be put.
Yeah, so I think.
Yeah, certainly to whoever's delegated to look after these blocks. We're better off removing ourselves from that liability, potential liability, I should say. Okay. There being no further questions, could I have someone move that the council's forestry holdings report be received? Thank you, Councillor Dalgety, and seconded by Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 9.6 on the agenda, funding for consenting works. And taking us through this, Danny, are you running this report? Thank you. I'll hand over to you.
Also, I believe this was requested in the Assets and Infrastructure Committee to say what level of the consenting work is debt funded. So I've just come up with a sort of a basic explanation of how we put the funding impact statements together. And if it's not budgeted or it's capital, it's normally debt funded for free waters. So essentially, anything that was not rated for would be debt funded portion of that. I'm happy to take any questions on what's there.
Thank you, Danny. Essentially, this was a question raised by Your Worship. Are you happy with the answer provided in regards with the how it's shifted, CapEx has shifted to debt funding? Are you happy with the report and what it provides as far as an answer? Yeah. Okay. Are there any questions in regards with the statements in this report from committee members? If there's none, I'll ask that the funding and consenting works report be received. Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Seconded by Councillor Ash. We'll get you on the scoreboard, Councillor Ash. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, 9.7 on the order paper, the agenda, happy or not report. And Carol, we'll hand over to you to take us through this.
Mr. Chair, as always, this is a monthly report that we supply to you. I will just make a couple of comments about this report. Probably numbers are lower due to the close down period, and we will expect to see that for the February report as well, given our some of our facilities are actually closed at the moment. So just a comment there, but I'm happy to take any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions of the report. I'll ask for questions or comments now. Committee members. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Carol, in the report, and maybe I'm a skeptic, I'm not sure, but we have these positive comments from both Te Marapihi and from up in Taihape. It says, please rate our service. And that's encouraging that they are positive, but I note there are no negatives. Are there no negatives because are there no negatives, or are we not seeing some of these negatives? This is a little surprising that that we don't see anything corresponding when we look at the report where we see some unhappy faces at the top.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you're referring to page 74. These are directly from the system. So if somebody had chosen to make a comment on an unhappy face, it would be recorded here, and it has in the past. So I'm assuming that everybody who wanted to make extra comment did that on a positive basis.
So what you're saying is this is a list of additional comments that people provide rather than just pushing the button. And this is a complete list.
That's right. And if they chose to write something negative, it would show here, but obviously they haven't.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, thank you.
Further questions or comments? Your Worship, sorry.
Unfortunately, over the last fortnight, we've had a very high level of dissatisfaction with, for instance, Martin Water. In terms of our service provision in this facility, this area of council, how does that get picked up?
It's through our request for service system, not the system.
Yeah, but I mean, reading this, you think all's well and good in the world. We don't have somebody pushing buttons that says your water's not up to required standard. Does it paint a false picture as to where we're at?
Did you want to talk about the point of service QR codes, etc., that we're looking at rolling out?
Yes, I can give an update on that. So whether it sits in this one or the next statement of service performance item, I'm happy to make comment here. So we have undertaken that we will have certain areas that we were used to ask in a resident survey that we will actually ask users of the service, and we've got a process underway to do that with a staff member not available at the moment. We've had a slight delay in that, but it's still anticipated that that will be done by March. So that'll capture a whole lot of, like you were talking about, the QR codes and service touch points. So we are still working on that. A lot of it will be website driven, so people can go in. It's not a button that they physically push. They go into the website and actually rate a whole number of things. In terms of the water, those are logged in our request for service system, and I think Arno's got a point to make on that. We have logged a few of those over this week.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is one that's captured under the SSP, and it's under customer satisfaction, and that's where those complaints come through. So when the water quality gets like it is now, we get a lot of calls, and it's all logged on the request for service system. And now we've automated that, so it comes through as a calculation, and you'll see on this one it is actually read.
So it is captured.
So it's captured through the statement of service and performance, which is reported on a 6 monthly
Yes, we've got the
basis to
first
this
6 month
this
report
committee.
coming up in the next item.
Yeah.
I like where the initiative is going in terms of recording it through the website. So there is literally a touch point.
That's right.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? Okay, there being none, could I have someone move that the happy or not report for January 22 be received? Moved by Councillor Carter, seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay. And moving on to 9.8 on the agenda, Statement of Service Performance. And Carol.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just make a couple of comments, and then I've also got a question around whether you want this. At the moment, we put this to Finance and Performance Committee, and we also put it to Council, and that you'll see that on the agenda for later today. So it would just be good to know if you want us to follow that approach in future, or you have a different desire for that. Your councillors would have been emailed out a number of documents on the Statement of Service Performance, and they were emailed out on Monday. This is our new way of showing how the measures are and how we're achieving what the results are. This is the first 6 monthly report, so it's from 1 July to 31 December, so it's just important to remember that when you're reading through it. Visually, it's a lot easier to understand, we think, and I think the Chair made that point in his Chair's report, so thank you for that. It is the first time you've seen it like this, so we're happy to take any other improvement comments if you have any. So yeah, a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes to try and get it to a state that it's easier for you to see. And also where we feel narrative is required, those have been added to each of the result areas. So I'm happy to leave it there and just take questions, and noting that most of the group managers have some responsibilities in this report, so they'll be happy to take any other questions as well.
Thanks, Carol. And yeah, further to my comments, it certainly is a lot easier to read and understand, and very pleasing to see that the results are certainly improving in a number of areas. I think in regards with where it should be reported, my personal view is I believe the Statement of Service and Performance was reported through Council last time because we had highlighted some issues within the report and felt that full Council should receive it. But as this is a Finance and Performance Committee, I believe this is the correct avenue or venue to distribute this report through to. If there were any real concerns, then it could be that this committee would make a recommendation to for the report to have to go to full Council if there were concerns within the report. But I would be happy personally, and I'm not sure how the committee feels about that. I'd ask them for comment, but I'd be happy for it to be received through this committee and this committee only. I don't think it has to be doubled up through Council. But that's my view, and I'm happy to take the views of committee members. Questions or comments?
Yeah, sorry,
Your Worship.
I've got one. So in terms of the measurement and outcomes, I did spend a little bit of time looking at them all. The only one that I'd really like to question is under road maintenance, the percentage of the sealed road network that is resurfaced. So this has been lowered over the years, has been previously pointed out, and that's because of Waka Kotahi's funding. Did we formally adopt that level of 6% as part of the asset management report to council. In other words, because that was the funding that we've agreed to within contract, we've therefore adopted it as our standard.
This was actually through the long-term plan process.
Yeah, but did we then, it was what we're funding through the long-term plan, but did we adopt that as part of the measurement?
Yes.
We did.
These are directly from the long-term plan.
Yeah, okay. At every opportunity, I will point out the falling levels of this. You know, we've moved from 12-13% of the network a year, and we're down now to 6%, and still not achieving that. You know, the future of our roading network is going to be a crisis point within years.
Yeah, ultimately that percentage is the kilometres of roading resealed within our district, and yeah, certainly with the costs involved, it's becoming more and more challenging to reach these targets that we've set with the funding that's provided.
Yeah, the point is we've reset the targets because of the funding that's been made available to us. Our preference a few years ago was at 12-13% of the network each year. This is a constraint that has been forced upon us by both funds from ourselves and Waka Kotahi.
Questions from Councillor Wilson and Councillor Dalgety.
Certainly a good point, Your Worship. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just supporting your earlier comments as to where this report should be reported. That was all.
Thank you for that. Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just looking at our stormwater drainage, and there was we've got a comment there, no flooding events occurred between that reporting date to the 31st of December. I'm just wondering whether it's worth commenting, and I hope I'm correct here, that there has been a high rainfall event in that time. So I mean that's a good thing. Yeah, that's what went through my mind.
You're saying our network provided good coverage.
That basically, although there was no flooding event, but there was a high rainfall event, so we coped with it.
Yes, take your point. Whether that's required in the narrative.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the Department of General Affairs are quite specific as to how they classify these things. So a flooding event for them is when you have inundation of a house, a floor level. We've had many discussions about it because it is a nonsensical measure. All councils in the country, the primary stormwater system is only for a 1 in 10 year event. And we were asking the question, is that flooding under any condition? So if you have a 1 in 100 year event, you would expect flooding because we only have a 1 in 10 year level of service. And they are mute on that point. So it's just if there's been inundation of a floor level, which makes the measure a bit nonsensical.
I think happy to receive your comment through this committee, but yeah, within the report,
right.
I think it's best left out of the report. Thank you.
Awesome. And another question, please.
Yes.
On the last page, I'm just interested with regards to the district GDP, and that information hasn't come through yet. When are we expecting that information to come from Infometrics, please? On the last page, page 13.
Sure, Councillor Dalgety, we'll take that as an action.
Gaileen's online.
Galen?
She might know.
Galen, do you know?
No, sorry, I don't off the top of my head. I will follow that up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, I just, Mr. Benedy has made a very correct comment. Essentially, we get $800,000 worth of damage to our roading network, and we're not allowed to relate that as a flood event under this format. That's nonsensical.
yes, certainly the impact of ratepayers for those events is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when it comes down to wording of what is a flooding event is, yeah, it does agree with that. Nonsensical. But overall, yeah, great reporting. I think it's a lot easier to read this report. And I like the fact that it's easy to relate previous years' achievements versus this year's achievements. Yeah, a lot better reporting format. So yeah. I think I can say that on behalf of the committee that this is a huge improvement. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I know I should make the point that George was very instrumental in this before he left. So yeah, he worked hard on it.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any further questions of the report? If not, could I have someone move the reception of the statement of service and performance 6 monthly? Thank you, Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Dalgetty. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, item 10 has been removed, as earlier noted in the meeting. So we are now at the close of the meeting. Our next meeting has been set. Any further comments, questions before we close off? Otherwise, I will declare the meeting closed. Your Worship.
Just a note, we're due back online at 1:45 for the signing process. So that's correct?
Welcoming communities.
Welcoming communities.
Do you have any councillor-only session scheduled for today? No, none today. So there's no councillor-only session scheduled for today. So yeah, just be back online for the 1:45 meeting. Councillor Duncan.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my public excluded order paper. Is that what we're going into now?
No. So earlier in the meeting, we made the recommendation that decision goes through to full council. This committee doesn't have the delegation to make those decisions, so we've shifted that item through to full council, and His Worship the Mayor will make that decision based on the reasons given at that time.
Thank you. Sorry, I hadn't put that together. Cheers.
That's okay. All right. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you for those online who have had listened through the streaming, and we'll call the meeting to a close.